Tesla looks like it's bottoming, but this could be a trap before another drop. If you're holding Tesla stock right now or thinking about buying this dip, this moment is critical because what looks like stabilization on the surface may actually be one of the most dangerous phases in a downtrend. In this video, I'm going to break down what's really happening in Tesla's chart, why this bottom might not be real, and how you should think about this as a serious investor. So, let's start with where we are right now. Tesla is trading around the mid 340s. Over the past few months, the trend has been clearly downward. Lower highs, lower lows, a textbook downtrend. And yet, recently, we've started to see something interesting. The price is no longer dropping aggressively. It's starting to slow down, even showing small bounces. And naturally, many investors are thinking, maybe this is the bottom. But this is exactly where most people make the biggest mistake, because what looks like a pause is often not strength, it's hesitation. And in a downtrend, hesitation usually comes before continuation. In other words, what you're seeing right now could simply be the market catching its breath before moving lower again. Let's talk about the trend structure. When you look at Tesla's chart objectively, it's very clear. Each rally fails to reach the previous high. Each drop breaks the previous low. That's not a neutral market. That's a confirmed downtrend. And here's the key mindset shift. In an uptrend, you assume continuation upward. In a downtrend, you assume continuation downward until proven otherwise. This is where many investors get trapped. They see a lower price and think it's cheap. But cheap does not mean undervalued. In many cases, it simply means the move down isn't finished yet. Now let's move to one of the most important indicators, moving averages. Right now, Tesla is trading below the 20-day, the 50-day, and the 200-day moving averages. Short-term, mid-term, and long-term, all weak. But more importantly, these moving averages are acting as resistance. So every time the price tries to bounce, it runs into selling pressure. This tells us something very important about market behavior. There are sellers waiting above. And until that structure changes, it's very difficult for a strong uptrend to begin. Next, let's look at RSI. Right now, Tesla's RSI is around the high 30s. Now, typically, we consider oversold conditions to be below 30. So what does that mean? It means the market is not in panic mode yet. And this is critical. Real bottoms usually form when investors give up, when sentiment becomes extremely negative, when people say, I can't hold this anymore. That's when markets tend to bottom. But right now, we're not there. There's still hope. And as long as hope remains, downside risk often remains as well. Now let's talk about volume, because volume tells you what the big money is doing. And right now, the pattern is very clear. When Tesla drops, volume increases. When Tesla bounces, volume is relatively weak. That tells us something important. Selling pressure is strong. Buying pressure is not convincing yet. In other words, institutions are not aggressively accumulating at this level. And without strong accumulation, it's very hard to call a true bottom. Now let's zoom in a bit and look at the shorter time frame. On the 4-hour chart, Tesla is moving sideways. And I know this is where it gets confusing, because sideways action feels like stability. It feels like the selling has stopped. But in a downtrend, sideways movement often forms what we call a continuation pattern, sometimes a bear flag, which is essentially a pause before the next move lower. This is where beginners tend to see opportunity, but professionals see risk. So where does that leave us? Let's walk through the possible scenarios from here. First, the most likely scenario is continuation of the downtrend. The structure is still bearish. The moving averages are above price. RSI is not oversold. Volume favors sellers. All of these factors point in the same direction. Second, we could see a short-term bounce. a relief rally, maybe driven by short covering or temporary optimism. But here's the key. That does not mean the trend has reversed. In many cases, these bounces become opportunities for larger players to sell into strength. And third, the bullish scenario, a true trend reversal. Now, this is absolutely possible, but we need confirmation. We need to see price break above key moving averages. We need to see strong volume coming in. We need to see higher highs being formed. And right now, we're not seeing that yet. So the question becomes, what should you do? And this is where discipline matters, because the biggest mistake you can make right now is trying to predict the exact bottom. Catching the bottom sounds attractive, but in reality, it's one of the hardest things to do consistently, and often it leads to unnecessary losses. Instead, what I focus on is confirmation. I wait for the market to show strength. I wait for the structure to change. I wait for evidence, because entering slightly later with confirmation is far more powerful than entering early with uncertainty. So let's summarize. Tesla right now is in a clear downtrend. What we're seeing is not necessarily a bottom, but a pause within that trend. RSI tells us we're not at extreme levels. Volume tells us sellers are still in control, and the structure tells us the trend has not changed. So the key going forward is simple. Watch the strength of the next move. If Tesla bounces weakly and gets rejected, the downtrend likely continues. But if we start seeing strong momentum, strong volume, and a break of structure, that's when things start to change. This is not a moment to rush. This is a moment to observe, because the best opportunities don't come from guessing. They come from understanding. And if you're a long-term Tesla investor, this is even more important, because long-term success is not about buying the absolute bottom. It's about aligning with the trend and managing risk intelligently. If this breakdown helped you see the market more clearly, make sure to subscribe. On this channel, I don't just follow Tesla news. I break down the strategy, the structure, and what it means for investors like us. Thanks for watching, and let's keep building our future with Tesla. Before we wrap up, let me take a moment to introduce myself. I drive a Tesla Model Y, and at home, I've installed a Tesla Powerwall, so I actually charge my car with solar energy. I truly believe Tesla is shaping the future, and that's why I share the latest news and insights here on this channel. I'm from Japan, but I want to connect with Tesla fans all around the world. That's why I also create an English version of my videos. YouTube now lets you switch the audio into your own language, so you can enjoy it in whatever language you prefer. Most of all, I'd love to connect with Tesla fans everywhere so we can support Tesla together. I also share updates on X, so feel free to follow me there and let's connect. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.